Hi everyone, it's David here again, and we're back with another video uh, to do with the missing persons app. So with this video, just to recap what we've done, we've started off with the initial scope. We've then gone through and put together some wireframes. Now, when I was putting together those wireframes of the initial design, I did have the option of doing a low resolution and a high resolution option. I specifically chose a high resolution option straight off the bat, particularly because this is a minimum viable proposition. And I still need to sell this into the Victoria Police News website or Victoria Police. And due to time restraints of the design competition, um, and the time I had to get feedback from a low res feedback to high res, it really didn't enable me enough time, and so I've chosen to go with the high res, particularly so then you've got a bit more sizzle to actually help sell the product into the decision makers of where this goes, and so yeah, that's why I chose the high resolution design in the wireframe straight off the bat. And we've now come to the next part where we get into the individual item scopes and then how I use those individual item scopes to then create the user stories for the design. And it feels like it's a little bit in reverse. Normally you create user stories and go with design, but I find this to be a much faster way, that if you actually have an original design, it's much easier then to reverse engineer out all each of the items and then get into the user stories as well. So let's head over to the PC and I'll talk you through what I've done. Okay, so here we are back with our scope of works for the missing persons app design. And we've gone through, we've added the purpose, we've done a system overview, and then now we've come through and we've done the initial wireframe. Then what I like to do is I use that wireframe to create a high level scope of works. So if we bring across our little app, and we click on into it. So here's what you typically see in the Victorian News website. So none of this has changed. If we then go in here, I've got in here, add a tab to the hamburger menu titled Missing Persons App. That's what I'm talking about down here. Add this down here. And then create a screen for the Missing Persons App. So here's our screen for the Missing Persons App. Add an About section. Here's our About section. Add an Enable About text. That's that text in there. Add a button, enable disable button. When the button is pressed, where you go. Color the button red when it's not enabled. Add disabled about text if to the missing persons app when it's enabled. And then title button enable, press to disable button when the missing persons app screen. That's if it's on the other switched. Add the quick exit button, which is already part of the normal Victoria Police News website, so just adding in some of the initial features. Have the quick exit button go to Google when pressed, similar to as it is with the existing Victoria News website. Add a title to the missing persons app screen, white on blue background, so there's our little title. We'll bring this across, keep going. Create a gallery view page for the missing persons app. So if I press to enable, this is the gallery view page. This is what I'm talking about here. The gallery view page should have a clear image of the missing person as a headshot if possible to the full width of the screen. Each image of the missing person on the gallery view should have the name in bold text. It should also have the age in bold text. Images should be sorted from youngest to oldest on the gallery view page. And then at the final image, at the end of the final image, have the other items normally found at the bottom of the breaking news page, i.e. careers news, your safety, etc. Then if we click into Jenny here, create the individual person's page or change the current individual person's page to the following, and that is bring in some extra features here. So add the main headshot at the top of the screen for the individual person's page, have the missing person's name in bold and also age in bold, and then keep the remaining items as you would normally find on the individual person's page. So if I move that across now, we then get into the user stories. Now, typically, I wouldn't put this into the scope of works, but I'll add them in here now. Typically, this is where we would switch them over to I would normally write these straight into software such as Jira or DevOps or some other sort of agile software. But I'll just go through and explain to the average user what a user story is. Essentially, there's 4 parts to it, and it is as a, I want, so I, and then the acceptance criteria. And I'll explain each one, and I'll go down and find one which is a bit more interesting, because what I do is I create user stories for each and every one of those items that I've got here. So if I scroll down to one, and here's one I've just highlighted, user story 15, as a, and the as a is who is the person that has asked for this, because it may not just be me. You might have, for the same feature or same item, a different person. For example, a police officer might have a different need or want, and that can be added as a user story. So you can have multiple user stories for the same feature. But obviously I'm doing this all for myself, so I've gone as a volunteer youth outreach worker that helps find missing persons. So that identifies who's asked for it. I want, so what it is that I want. So in this case is I want each image of a missing person on the gallery view page to have the missing person's name in bold text. And then so I. And the so I is the reason behind it and why I want this feature. And in this case, I've gone so I can call out the name of the missing person and see if they respond naturally, as this is often a way to identify a missing person, even if they later advise they are not a missing person. They're trying to hide their identity. So if you yell out their name, people typically just naturally react to that. So that's one example. Another one is also the age as well. So I've highlighted that one as well as another example of that, where so you can use the age of the missing person to help identify them as well. So once you've done that, you then have the 4th part of each of the user stories, which is the acceptance criteria. And what that's used for is then when it goes off to the QA team to check that this feature works, this acceptance criteria they can use to set up their testing and say, right, well, this is what we want from this feature, and if it does this, well, then it's as good as we believe it's good as passed. So, for example, the acceptance criteria for this item that we've done here with the image name, person's name in bold text, is that there is firstly a gallery view page for the missing persons app. It is the first screen seen when the missing persons app feature is enabled and the user goes to the Victoria Police News website. When this page appears, there is a clear image of each of the missing persons as a headshot, if possible, to fill the full width of the screen. So just kind of some simple criteria. And each image contains the missing person's name in bold text. And the reason for that is then you can easily know the person's name just at a quick glance. So that's how a user story works. Then once you've added all the user stories, and there was a whole bunch of them here, I then put in the appendix, which is the screenshots. And as you can see here, we've got your typical, the first one is the main login page, which is what you'd normally see with the normal Victoria Police News website. And now instead of adding all the individual ones I go to just the key ones here. So here, rather than from a design perspective, this is when you bring it down to just the main pages. So we've got the main page menu. We've got the enable feature page for the Missing Persons app. We've got the gallery view. We've got the individual person page, and then we've got the disable Missing Persons app page. And then also you've got the quick exit Google page. And that's it. That is the full scope of the Missing Persons app design. So as we stand right now, I'm still not at the level where I can load this up into the video. I don't yet have 1,000 subscribers. So the quicker we can get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker I can release this out into the marketplace. And I'll add it as a link. So by the time you see this, hopefully I've got to my 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, then globally, anyone can use this as a way in any, as I said originally, in any city and any part of the world to help find missing children. And this can be used as a starting point. So yeah, I hope you like my design or redesign for the Missing Persons app. Thanks very much for your time.